It was late afternoon when I found George sitting on the park bench outside my old clinic. His hands were clasped together so tightly that his knuckles had gone pale. He didn't look sick, not in the way most people do when they come to a doctor. He looked heavy, the kind of weight that doesn't sit on your body, but in your chest. I sat beside him, quietly, and after a while he said, "Doc, I don't understand it. My blood pressure's fine, my heart's strong, but I feel like something's squeezing me from the inside." I remember how the wind rustled the dry leaves around us. I asked him, "How long have you felt that way?" He said, "Years. I think I just stopped noticing." That sentence still lingers with me. I just stopped noticing. You can live decades like that, with tension sitting quietly in your breath, with worry coiled beneath your ribs, convincing yourself it's just the price of getting older. But it isn't. It's the quiet erosion of peace. One thought, one worry at a time. In medicine, I used to call it chronic stress. But in real life, it's more like rust. You don't see it forming, but one day, the door of your spirit won't open as easily as it used to. Over 50 years, I've learned that the strongest hearts aren't the ones that beat fastest, but the ones that rest deeply. And rest doesn't just mean sleep, it means release. The ability to let go, even for a moment, of the noise you carry. George wasn't the only one. There was Martha, who lost her husband and filled every hour with activity so she wouldn't feel alone. There was Henry, who kept a brave face for his children, but clenched his jaw until his teeth cracked. They all had something in common. Their blood work looked fine, but their eyes told another story. Stress doesn't always shout. Sometimes it hums. A low frequency of tension that you stop hearing until the silence feels foreign. And yet, the 1%, the rare few who grow older with calm instead of collapse, they've learned to hear it early, to notice the hum before it becomes a roar. I used to think calm was something you earned after the chaos of youth. But it's not automatic. It's something you practice in breath, in patience, in the decision to pause. That day on the bench, I taught George a simple rhythm. Inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8, the 4-7-8 breath. At first, he looked skeptical, like this was too simple to help. But after a few rounds, his shoulders dropped. The grip in his hands softened. He said quietly, "That's the first time I've felt space in my chest in years." I nodded, because I knew exactly what he meant. That small moment, that breath was medicine, the kind no pharmacy could bottle. So tonight, before you go to bed, try it. 4 in, 7 hold, 8 out. Feel the air fill you, hold you, then leave gently. You don't have to fix your life tonight. Just remind your body that peace is still possible. That's where the healing of the 1% begins. Not with more effort, but with less tension. Not with more doing, but with one good breath that says, "I'm still here, and I'm okay." George came back a week later, this time with a calmness I hadn't seen before. He told me he'd been practicing the 4-7-8 breathing every night before bed, sometimes in the morning too, when his mind would start running ahead of him. "It's strange," he said. "I thought I needed to change my whole life to feel better. Turns out, I just needed to remember how to breathe." That made me smile, but it also made me think about how often we forget the simplest things that keep us human. Breath is the first act we take when we arrive in this world. And yet somewhere between paying bills, worrying about children, and watching the news, we forget to do it with intention. We breathe shallowly, quickly, like we're trying to stay one step ahead of our own hearts. When I was still practicing medicine, I used to prescribe walks the same way I prescribed medication. Not because walking cured everything, but because it reminded people to be where they were. There was a woman named Helen. She was 76 and always worried that slowing down meant weakness. I told her, "Walking isn't about distance, Helen. It's about letting your thoughts catch up to your body." She laughed, but she came back a month later and said, "You were right. Doc, I don't walk to exercise anymore. I walk to stop fighting myself." That's the realization most people miss. Stress doesn't only come from tragedy. It comes from resistance, from the constant tug-of-war between what is and what we think should be. The 1%, those few who age with grace, don't escape worry. They simply stop wrestling with it. They meet each moment, take its hand, and move with it instead of against it. You can feel it in their presence. They move slower, but somehow everything they do feels efficient. They smile more, not because life spared them hardship, but because they learned that peace isn't the absence of difficulty. It's the refusal to be owned by it. There was another man, Robert, a widower, who lived down the street from me. He used to sit on his porch every evening, watching the sun go down. One day I asked him what he thought about during those long silences. He said, "Nothing." "Really?" "I just let the day settle inside me before I start a new one." That line stuck with me for years. Let the day settle inside me. That's what reflection looks like at its purest, not reliving, not analyzing, just letting the dust of the day fall gently to the ground. I began doing it myself after I retired. Around dusk, I'd pour a cup of tea and sit quietly for 10 minutes. No phone, no radio, no plans. At first, it felt uncomfortable, like I was wasting time. But then I noticed something shift. My heartbeat slowed. The noise in my head softened. And I realized that stress doesn't need to be managed. It needs to be released. Little by little, through quiet attention. That's what I tell my patients. Even now, if you want to heal your nerves, heal your attention first. What you notice becomes what you nourish. Notice the way the breeze touches your arm. Notice how the chair supports you. Notice that you're safe right now, in this moment, because stress can't survive where awareness lives. You don't need a perfect plan or a silent mind. You only need to pause long enough to remember that you have a choice to soften your breath, to unclench your jaw, to take one gentle step outside. So if you find yourself restless tonight, don't reach for the remote or the bottle of pills. Step outside, just for a minute. Let the air meet your face. Listen, maybe to the crickets or the faint hum of the city. Feel the night hold you. And when you do, take one long breath in, hold it, and let it go slowly. That's how the 1% live. Not without storms, but with the wisdom to know when to close the umbrella and simply feel the rain. A few months after that first meeting, I saw George again. He was standing outside the community center, talking with a group of retirees about a new walking club they'd started. When he spotted me, he waved, laughing in that open, unguarded way I hadn't seen before. "Doc," he said, "we meet 3 times a week now. We walk, we talk, and we breathe the way you showed me." He paused, then added softly, "I haven't felt that tightness in my chest since." I nodded but said nothing for a moment. Watching him, I thought of all the years I'd spent chasing the right pills, the right protocols, the right therapies. And yet the most powerful medicine I'd ever witnessed was something no prescription pad could hold. It was peace. Earned, practiced, quiet peace. You see, the 1% aren't untouched by life's difficulties. They lose loved ones, face change, and know loneliness like anyone else. The difference is that they've learned to let stillness be their first response. Not panic. When worry knocks, they don't build walls. They open windows. When tension rises, they breathe into it instead of fighting it. They make peace not an event, but a habit. I've seen it in the smallest moments. An old man tying his shoes slowly, with care. A widow humming softly while washing her cup. A woman closing her eyes for just 3 deep breaths before speaking. These gestures may seem ordinary, but they are the anchors that keep the storms of stress from sweeping away what's sacred. You can build that, too. Not overnight, but in small pieces, one walk, one pause, one breath at a time. Start with the mornings. Before you reach for your phone, sit at the edge of your bed and breathe. In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. Feel the air, settle your heartbeat. Let the day arrive gently. Then, sometime in the afternoon, step outside. Even if it's only to the mailbox, move slowly. Look at the trees, the sky, the faces that pass. End your day with gratitude. 3 things, spoken softly, even if one of them is as simple as I made it through today. If you do that, you'll notice that peace isn't something you chase. It's something that grows where awareness lives. And when people ask how you stay so calm, you'll smile. Because you'll know the truth. Calm isn't luck. It's discipline disguised as grace. Sometimes I think about George, sitting on that park bench all those years ago, clenching his fists, fighting a battle no one could see. Then I think about him now, walking, laughing, sharing his breath with others. The same man, the same body, just finally free from his own grip. That's the quiet miracle of the 1%. Not immortality, but mastery, the ability to meet life's pressure with presence instead of panic. So tonight, as you prepare for bed, try it once more. Inhale deeply through your nose for 4. Hold for 7. Exhale through your mouth for 8. Feel your body thank you in its quiet way. You don't need to change everything to live better. Just give yourself permission to exhale. Peace is not found in escape, but in awareness. Each deep breath teaches your body that calm is possible. Each gentle walk teaches your mind that stillness can move with you. The 1% of elders who never let stress rule their hearts are not lucky, they are practiced. They drink water before they feel thirsty, breathe before they feel tense, rest before they collapse. They listen to what their bodies whisper instead of waiting for them to shout. Let tomorrow begin with breath, not rush. Let your next pause be your medicine. Because peace, like health, begins in the smallest, most ordinary moment. A single breath that says, I'm here, and this is enough.